Who's going to? Is Miss Payne?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Not here. Mr. Menhena. So, is there anything you'd like to comment on before I go through it page by page, Mr. Menhena?
Just in general, we're pretty much in line with budget for the 8 months ended 29th of Feb. But happy to answer any specific questions.
Okay, so if we turn firstly to page, mine's smudged, must be 14 bar 2, is it? Yeah, 14 bar 2. Shush. I'll take it page by page if you want to comment on it, probably the easiest way to get through it. Page 14 bar 2, you can see the actuals and the budget. It's not a million miles apart, they're actually reasonably close. Any comments, questions? Nothing? 14 bar 3. You can see the year-to-date actuals, balances and the variances in the columns. Any questions or comments from your team? Page 14 bar 4. Again, you can see the year-to-date actuals and budgets and variances and full-year budgets across the 4 columns. Any questions or comments there? 14 by 5. Some explanations as well. 14 bar 6. Again, I go to that number D, but I know 66 Norman Smith Street's been sold, but I question again Old Dog Pound, because we haven't sold the Old Dog Pound that I'm aware of.
No, we
So
haven't.
is D, my question is just the 66 Norman Smith Street episode, where we bought, just so councillors know what I'm talking about, previous councillors somewhere in the dim dark past bought a property on the corner there to eventually put a roundabout on that intersection, and when we went for the asset register we found it still sitting there, so we put it up for sale, sold it and took the 2 or 3 metres that we needed off the land. So that's the loss pertaining to that purchase and sale.
So that mistake was picked up last month and unfortunately has been carried forward.
Again.
I'll make sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you. Okay, any more? No. Moving over to the next page, 14 bar 8. Nobody? 14 bar 9. And 14 bar 10. 14 bar 11. Okay, moving on to the graphs, Treasury Management Report and our investments. Do you want to speak to this, Mr. Menhena?
What we are still experiencing, as most people understand, is the low interest rates on short-term investments. But if we look at our variance in our interest paid versus variance in our interest received, we're actually still ahead of budget. In other words, our net interest position is positive compared with what the budget was predicted to be. And that's just the graphs of the numbers that we previously, from the previous pages.
So do you have any questions from councillors? Could I just have please, Mr. Menhena, if I bear with me, could I have a little bit of an overview on the bottom right-hand picture on page 14 by 1, interest costs on debt?
Okay, there's 2 factors related to that particular graph. One is that the level of borrowing is slightly below what we were budgeted to have borrowed at this particular point in time, and it's very much to do with the timing of the water treatment plant out the back here. The second one is that the cost of borrowing is just slightly ahead of what we actually were budgeting for the year. So as a combination of those two, One is that the principal that we're paying interest on is lower than we budgeted for, but the rate we're paying is just a fraction higher. But as you can see, it's still pretty much in line with what we're projecting.
Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but as at February 12, the interest cost on debt was 6 odd million.
This is, yes.
Is that right? Have I got it right?
Yes.
And by June 2012, which is only a couple of months away, we're rising to 10 million.
Yeah, just under 9. Just under 10, correct, as per the plan.
That's right, I was seeking clarification.
9,665,000 to be exact.
Moving on.
Which could be
So it's
3 or 4 million less if you didn't have money invested by the TEL fund.
Yeah. 3 or 4 million less if we didn't have money invested.
Well, if you got 50 odd million earning about 8%, so there's 4 million.
Yeah.
So that's on the other side of the. That's
but
income.
what I'm saying is, if it's climbing today from just rough figure 6 to somewhere getting close to 10 in a 4-month period, we must be borrowing a lot of money in the next 3 or 4 months.
Well,
that's only 28 million, and we borrow at we're borrowing at under 5. So how do we come out with another 4 million?
What it is an accumulative situation. So in other words, if we have spent 6 million in 8 months, then
so
in 12 months
we're
going to
spent
be
10.
up around the 8-9 without the increased borrowing that we're doing at the moment for the capital works out here.
Oh yes, on top of layers.
Yeah.
Okay, now the pennies drop better into place. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for that. So moving over the page, which is the performance report. Does anybody want to question anything about that? It's fairly self-explanatory. Happy to take questions, particularly on the AC bars, which is another hot topic, for the want of a better word. Okay, next page, 14 bar 1. Or 14 bar. One smudged. Okay, so that was the last page. So if there's no further questions or clarifications from councillors, we go back to the suggested resolution that Taupo District Performance Report for March 2012 be received. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Mincher, seconded Councillor Crate. All in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Please say aye. Thank you. Number 15, I can see Ms Jakes is there. Welcome, Ms Jakes, Democracy and Public Advocacy Manager.
Thank you. Really just want to take this item as read. It follows on from the workshop that you had regarding collaboration, and this is a memorandum or a draft memorandum of understanding working with the Waikato region, which was one of the discussion points out of that workshop.
Okay, any questions of relevance, clarification, etc. on that?
That is all the councils in the our district, isn't it?
In the Waikato region, that's correct.
It's every single one's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillors, this replaces the existing triennial agreement that you have, and which you're required to have by law.
I'm sorry, Councillor Mincher.
So can I ask, Anne, is there any changes from the original agreement we have?
Well, effectively there is quite a substantial change in mood, I guess, in terms of the way that this memorandum of understanding comes together, because what it's agreeing to is the Waikato district authorities agreeing to take a strategic approach to a range of collaborative issues, which is quite a shift from where they've been previously. Now this has come out of the work that has been done actually started off with the LAS, the Local Authority Shared Services work, where they had Lee Orton and Associates do a review of that work, and they were basically saying that there really hasn't been a joining together to look at common issues and take common approaches with government. And so what this memorandum of understanding is doing is actually trying to create that strategic approach. If you contrast that to the Bay of Plenty, that effectively is what the Bay of Plenty have been doing for quite some time, particularly through the COBOP work. Although their LAS work, or their local authority shared services work, it's kind of separated out. So I guess this is a move forward from a Waikato point of view. And the issue that we've got is around the fact that we sit in both of those regions, and and the fact that you have to make some decisions about where you align yourselves, and under the current climate, our advice has been to align still with both of your main regional authorities.
Any further questions, clarification? Very mechanical. Okay. Could I have a mover, please, of the resolution on 15 bar? Mine's cut out again. It must be 15 bar 2. 15 bar 2. Move. Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Truman. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Jakes. Moving now.